I finally saved $10,000 and honestly, nothing really changed, said no one ever. Hitting that first $10,000 savings milestone is a game changer. It shifts your mindset, opens up new possibilities, and redefines how you view money. It's like unlocking a secret level in the game of life, where everything starts to click. In this video, I'm breaking down the 7 powerful transformations that happen when you reach this milestone. From the unexpected confidence boost to the financial momentum it creates, these shifts will completely reshape your perspective on money. Stick around to discover how this milestone can change everything. The ordinary world, life before $10,000. Picture this. You check your bank account every morning, and it feels like watching a relentless horror movie trailer. One unexpected expense, a flat tire, a dentist visit, a broken phone, and suddenly you're scrambling, digging through couch cushions for spare change. That's life without a financial safety net. The Federal Reserve found 63% of Americans can't cover a $500 emergency without borrowing money. It's a precarious existence where one surprise can tip you into financial disaster. Sarah knew this feeling all too well. She postponed dental work for 3 years because her $200 checking account balance couldn't handle the copay. By the time she finally went, the cavity had turned into a root canal that cost 10 times more. This is the vicious cycle of living without savings. You can't afford to prevent problems, so they snowball into bigger, more expensive ones later. And it's not just your wallet that suffers. Princeton researchers found financial stress shrinks your brain's cognitive capacity by the equivalent of losing 13 IQ points. When you're barely treading water, it's no wonder it feels impossible to get ahead. The stress doesn't stop there. Every decision becomes a high-stakes calculation. If I take this $35 lift to the interview, can I still afford groceries? Or if I pay the electric bill today, will my rent check bounce? Chronic financial stress, according to a University of Hawaii study, causes physical symptoms similar to PTSD, trouble sleeping, panic attacks, even elevated heart disease risk. Your fight or flight response stays permanently switched on, which explains why takeout food and impulse buys feel so tempting. When your brain is in survival mode, it craves quick comfort to cope with the constant pressure. This survival mode creates a dangerous cycle of short-term thinking. Behavioral economists call it tunneling, focusing so intensely on immediate crises that long-term solutions seem invisible. Take Mark, for example. He turned down a weekend certification course because he needed his Uber earnings to cover rent. 2 years later, coworkers who took that course got promoted while Mark stayed stuck. Without savings, you're not making choices, you're just reacting to whatever keeps you afloat this week. The financial toll is staggering. The average American spends $1,300 annually on late fees, overdraft charges, and high-interest loans, what experts call the poor tax. That's money you wouldn't lose if you had a financial cushion. And the missed opportunities are even worse. Harvard research shows people without savings consistently forgo chances to build wealth from discounted bulk purchases, saving $1,000 a year on groceries, to career advancements requiring unpaid training. An empty bank account doesn't just hold you back, it actively costs you. Here's the harsh truth. This isn't normal living. It's crisis management disguised as adulthood. When University of Nottingham scientists scanned the brains of people in debt versus those with savings, they found striking differences. The debt group's neural patterns resembled those of chronic pain sufferers. Your biology literally changes when you lack financial security. Yet society frames this struggle as a personal failing instead of recognizing it as a systemic trap. The call to adventure, why $10,000 changes everything. The most surprising thing about $10,000? The money itself matters less than what it triggers in your brain. Crossing this threshold isn't just about seeing a bigger number in your bank app, it's about gaining financial agency. This is the moment you stop feeling like money controls you and start feeling like you're in control. Psychologists describe it as a shift in financial identity, and Federal Reserve data shows $10,000 is the magic number, where people transition from spenders to savers. It's not gradual, it's a light bulb moment. Take Mark's story. When his savings hit 5 digits for the first time, his boss demanded he work Thanksgiving weekend. Again. For the first time in 8 years, Mark said no. Why? Because $10,000 meant getting fired wouldn't make him homeless. That safety net gave him the confidence to walk away from bad deals, and within 6 months, his salary jumped 22%. This is the power of financial agency. It changes how you negotiate, how you plan, and how you see your options. Here's why this shift matters. Below $10,000, saving feels like a losing battle. A $50 monthly return on investments doesn't feel worth it. But once you hit that threshold, compounding gets real. That same $50 grows into $500, then $1,000 over time. Small contributions start to feel significant because they're building on something substantial. University of Michigan researchers found people with $10,000 saved are 9x more likely to keep investing compared to those with $1K. Emergency funds also work differently. Below $10,000, every crisis, like a $1,000 car repair, can wipe you out completely. But at $10,000, most emergencies become manageable. A repair that takes you down to $9K is frustrating, but it's not catastrophic. Northwestern University research shows this is the point where financial stress drops significantly as people stop living in constant fear of the next crisis. This mindset shift shows up in every part of life. People with $10,000 saved are 3x more likely to negotiate salaries, Harvard Business Review. 5x more likely to invest in education or training, National Bureau of Economic Research. 7x more likely to start side businesses, Kauffman Foundation. Why? Because financial stress clouds your thinking. Princeton researchers found that financial anxiety reduces cognitive function as much as pulling an all-nighter. When you're panicking about survival, you can't focus on opportunities. Hitting $10,000 gives you the breathing room to think clearly and make better decisions. Consider Jessica's spending habits. Below $10,000, she bought cheap shoes every 3 months because her $20 pairs kept falling apart. After hitting her savings goal, she invested in $150 boots that lasted 4 years, saving $260 in the long run. Economists call this the boots theory of poverty. Being too broke to afford quality keeps you spending more over time. $10,000 breaks that cycle. The workplace dynamic flips too. A Stanford study found employees with $10,000 saved were far more likely to leave toxic jobs within 6 months. Not because they were rich, but because their savings gave them leverage. Even knowing the money is there changes how you tolerate bad treatment. The biggest change might be how you see time. Before $10,000, every decision is about surviving until the next paycheck. After, you start thinking in years instead of weeks. A UC Berkeley study found this shift in perspective is the strongest predictor of long-term wealth building. $10,000 savers were 11x more likely to have $100K within a decade. Trials and tribulations, the hardest part of the journey. Let's be honest, stacking up $10,000 feels like climbing Everest in flip-flops when you're starting from zero. The road's littered with 3 brutal roadblocks: your own brain fighting you, habits that don't stick, and life's constant curveballs. Bankrate found that 92% of savers throw in the towel before hitting 5K, let alone $10,000. That middle stretch between 2K to 8K? It's where dreams go to die. Progress crawls, motivation tanks, and that midnight Amazon shopping spree suddenly seems justified. Take Jessica's story. She swore this was the year she'd saved $10,000 until her alternator died, $600. Her wisdom teeth needed yanking, $1,200, and Target's summer clearance section absolutely needed those $45 sandals. 3 failed attempts later, she realized something. Everyone hits these walls. Behavioral economists call it the valley of disappointment, when the excitement of starting fades, but the rewards still feel miles away. Your brain starts whispering, "What's the point?" right when compounding's about to kick in. Here's why most people fail. They treat savings like a sprint, not a grind. Northwestern University research shows it takes average earners 14 months to save their first $1, but just 9 more months to hit $5 once momentum builds. The savers who break through, they cheat the system. They automate transfers before paying bills. not with what's left over, because there's never any left. They celebrate 500 milestones with $5 treats instead of $500 splurges. They also build fire breaks, starting with a separate 1K emergency fund before chasing $10,000. It's like wearing a life jacket while learning to swim. You'll still get wet, but you won't drown when life throws you in the deep end. Mindset traps are sneakier. You'll catch yourself thinking, I'll save more when I earn more. Spoiler: UCLA tracked workers after raises. 84% spent the extra instead of saving. Or this classic, I deserve this purchase after being so frugal. That's the seesaw effect Yale researchers identified. People binge spend after small wins, wiping out progress. The fix? Link savings to visual rewards. One woman colored in a butterfly drawing for every $100 saved. When it was fully colored, she hit $10,000. Dopamine hits without the debt. The 3K to 7K stretch is the make or break zone. Progress slows because interest hasn't compounded meaningfully yet. A $7 savings account only earns about $35 per month at 6% interest, barely noticeable. This is when people quit, not realizing they're inches from the tipping point. At 9K, that same account earns $45 a month. By $10,000, suddenly it's $50, enough to cover a phone bill. Micro wins matter here. One guy transferred spare change daily via an app. Those $3.42 add up to $1,250 a year. Impulse spending ambushes everyone. MIT neuroscientists found checking account balances activates the same brain regions as physical pain. So we avoid looking, which makes overspending easier. Savers who win, they gamify it, like the teacher who challenged herself to level up by saving each $500. She named each milestone after video game worlds. World 1, $500. World 1, 1K. By World 2 to 1, saving felt addictive. Some hacks that actually work. The 24-hour rule forces you to wait a day before any unplanned purchase over $50. The bulky wallet trick makes spending feel more tangible by using cash instead of cards. The receipt jar lets you see daily spending pile up, keeping you accountable. Timing matters too. Most savings plans fail in February, holiday debt hits. And August, back to school costs. Smart savers anticipate these. They reduce December spending and start school shopping in June. One family saved $2K a year just by buying next year's winter coats in April when stores clear inventory. The savers who cross the finish line share one habit. They track backward, not forward. Instead of asking, how much can I save this month? They ask, what wrecked my budget last month? One guy realized he spent $800 a year on parking tickets. Buying a $100 monthly pass saved $500 annually. Another discovered her cheap $12 lunches added up to $3K per year. Meal prepping freed up $250 a month. The supreme ordeal, crossing the $10,000 threshold. The moment you cross the $10,000 savings threshold feels anticlimactic at first. No confetti falls from the ceiling. Your bank doesn't call to congratulate you. Yet something fundamental shifts. You just might not notice it until life tests you. Take David's story. Before hitting $10,000, financial panic was his default. When his toxic boss threatened to fire him over a trivial mistake, he would have spiraled, desperately apologizing, losing sleep, and fearing the worst. But this time, David felt eerily calm. That's when it hit him. $10,000 meant he could survive 3 months unemployed. His knee-jerk people-pleasing vanished overnight. This shift isn't just psychological, it's biological. Neuroscience shows that reaching this milestone reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, and lowers cortisol levels by an average of 26%, according to Northwestern University research. One woman described waking up after hitting $10,000, realizing she'd slept through the night for the first time in 7 years without melatonin. It's not willpower that changes first, it's your biology. The transformation creeps up quietly. You'll catch yourself reacting differently to situations that used to trigger financial anxiety. Like when your car's check engine light comes on, and your first thought isn't, how much will this destroy me? But, let's get it fixed properly so it lasts. University of Chicago researchers call this temporal shifting. Your planning horizon stretches from days to years once basic security is covered. Suddenly, you're the person who changes oil every 3,000 miles instead of waiting for the engine to smoke. Relationships transform in unexpected ways. One man reported fighting less with his wife after hitting $10,000, not because they had more money, but because financial stress wasn't amplifying every disagreement. Couples therapy sessions dropped from weekly to monthly. Another woman realized she'd stopped resenting friends' vacation photos. She could finally picture herself taking trips too, instead of feeling excluded. UCLA's longitudinal study found these social improvements aren't coincidental. Financial security reduces what psychologists call scarcity socializing, where money stress poisons non-financial interactions. Work behaviors flip in fascinating ways. That same David who stood up to his boss? 6 months after hitting $10,000, he quietly declined working late nights and got promoted anyway when his well-rested performance improved. A Cornell study tracked similar cases where $10,000 savers became paradoxically more valuable employees precisely because they stopped acting desperate. One graphic designer turned down lowball freelance offers, only to have clients counter with higher rates when she didn't blink. Decision-making upgrades without conscious effort. You'll find yourself instinctively choosing quality over cheapness. The $200 coat that lasts 4 years instead of 5 $40 jackets that fall apart. Behavioral economists call this the patient capital effect. Savings give you the runway to make smarter long-term choices. One woman realized she'd stopped buying $1.50 daily sodas from the convenience store and invested in a $30 soda stream instead, saving $470 annually. These small behavior shifts add up to major financial gains that wouldn't occur to someone in survival mode. The most surprising change affects how you view yourself. University of Michigan research shows $10,000 savers are dramatically more likely to identify as investors rather than spenders, even if they haven't actually invested yet. This subtle self-redefinition changes everything. One bartender started reading finance blogs for fun. After hitting this milestone, 6 months later, he'd opened his first IRA. Another woman caught herself Googling how bonds work during her lunch break instead of online shopping. Physical health often improves too. That same cortisol drop leads to measurable changes. Better digestion, fewer tension headaches, even improved immune response, according to Mayo Clinic studies. One man's chronic back pain decreased so much his doctor tapered his medication. Turns out constant financial stress had been exacerbating his condition. Another woman's resting heart rate dropped 12 points within 2 months of hitting $10,000. No other lifestyle changes made. Reward 1. The confidence multiplier effect. That first $10,000 in savings does something weird to your brain that no one warns you about. It makes you stop taking crap from people. Not because you suddenly become arrogant, but because financial security rewires your fear response. Take Lisa's story. She'd been stuck at the $42K salary for 4 years at her marketing job. The month after her savings hit 5 figures, she marched into her boss's office with compensation data for her role and asked for 20% more. When they hesitated, she casually mentioned she'd been approached by recruiters. They matched her request by noon. Bank of America research shows people with emergency savings are 300% more likely to negotiate salaries successfully. This confidence doesn't stop at work. It seeps into every interaction. Ever notice how broke people apologize constantly? Sorry to bother you. If it's not too much trouble, that scarcity mentality vanishes at $10,000 saved. University of Nottingham psychologists tracked this shift, finding that people who crossed this savings threshold spoke up 28% more in group settings and reported 40% fewer instances of imposter syndrome. One participant described finally telling his overbearing mother-in-law they wouldn't be visiting for Christmas without explaining themselves, something he'd never done in 12 years of marriage. Romantic relationships transformed too. One woman ended a 5-year dead-end relationship 3 weeks after hitting $10,000. I always told myself I couldn't afford to leave, she said. Then suddenly I realized I actually could. Match Group data shows a 23% increase in premium dating app subscriptions from users who've recently crossed this savings milestone. It's not that money makes people arrogant. It removes the desperate edge that sabotages connections. Entrepreneurship often spikes at this milestone. The Kauffman Foundation found people with $10,000 plus savings are 7 times more likely to start side businesses. James, for example, had been designing websites for friends for years, but only after hitting his savings goal did he invest $800 in business cards, LLC filing, and a portfolio site. Within 6 months, his side hustle was bringing in more than his day job. Health decisions improved dramatically too. UCLA research shows $10,000 savers are twice as likely to switch from emergency room care to preventative medicine. One man finally booked the $2,000 dental work he'd put off for a decade, ironically saving $8,000 in future complications. Another woman joined a $150 per month gym instead of buying $10 day passes whenever she felt guilty, netting $600 annual savings plus better results through consistency. Parenting styles shift noticeably. Mothers with adequate savings are 60% less likely to engage in stress parenting, snapping at kids over spilled milk or broken toys. One daycare teacher observed that children of families who hit this milestone suddenly start hearing "we'll see" instead of automatic no's to extracurricular activities. These families often don't spend more money, they just stop associating every request with financial panic. Even your brain power gets upgraded. Princeton researchers found financial security boosts cognitive function equivalent to getting an extra night's sleep each week. One project manager solved a 6-month workflow bottleneck 2 weeks after hitting his savings goal. "My brain finally had the bandwidth to think beyond putting out fires," he said. Neuroscience explains this. Chronic money stress shrinks your prefrontal cortex, where complex decisions happen. The $10,000 effect even changes how you experience leisure. Broke people binge stream TV shows feeling guilty. They should be doing something productive. People with financial security actually enjoy hobbies guilt-free. One woman finished a 1,000-piece puzzle in one weekend for the first time in her adult life. "Normally I'd feel like I was wasting time," she said. But with savings, relaxing felt like a choice instead of a failing. Social dynamics shift too. That friend who always insists on splitting the bill exactly to the penny? He'll suddenly become more generous after hitting this milestone. Psychologists call this security contagion. Financial stability makes people less transactional in relationships. One man anonymously paid off his sister's $800 medical debt after reaching his savings goal. "When you're not worried about survival, you notice other struggles more," he explained. Even how you handle criticism changes. Harvard Business School research shows financially secure employees absorb constructive feedback 40% better than paycheck-to-paycheck workers. One graphic designer recalled her first post-$10,000 performance review. "Instead of panicking about job security, I actually implemented my boss's suggestions for once." This is the secure base effect. When survival isn't at stake, your brain processes information differently. Reward 2. Emergency fund superpowers. That moment when your car breaks down and you don't have a panic attack? That's the $10,000 emergency fund effect. Federal Reserve data shows 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing. But with $10,000 saved, 94% of financial disasters downgrade to annoyances. Take Mike. When his transmission failed last winter, he swiped his debit card for the $2,800 repair instead of putting it on a 24% APR credit card. No payment plan, no late fees, just a solved problem. Financial experts call this slack, your ability to absorb punches without going down. Imagine getting slapped with a $1,000 vet bill when you have $500 saved. You're stuck choosing between Fluffy's surgery and rent. But with $10,000 in savings, you pay it and move on. Psychologists even measure the difference. Cortisol levels drop about 26% once people hit this safety net threshold. Your body literally stops treating every expense like a 5-alarm fire. Emergency funds don't just prevent disasters, they change how you take risks. Sarah turned down a sketchy loan offer for her startup once she had $10,000 saved. "Before, I would have signed anything to keep the dream alive," she admits. "Now I can wait for better terms." Northwestern University research backs this up. People with adequate savings are 68% more likely to pass up bad opportunities because they can afford to be selective. The math makes this painfully clear. Without savings, a $500 emergency often snowballs into $2,300 in late fees, overdraft charges, and high-interest debt, according to Pew Research. That same crisis with $10,000 in the bank? You lose $500, period. This is why financial planners call emergency funds anti-debt devices. Here's the kicker. Having an emergency fund doesn't just protect your wallet, it protects your health. Stress-induced cortisol wreaks havoc on your body over time. One study participant's chronic eczema cleared up 2 months after hitting her $10,000 goal. Her dermatologist wasn't surprised. Stress exacerbates 80% of skin conditions. Workplace dynamics shift too. Imagine your boss tries to make you work Thanksgiving weekend. No savings, you're microwaving turkey in the break room. With $10,000, you can calmly negotiate overtime pay or risk being short-staffed. The Bureau of Labor Statistics confirms workers with savings are 3 times more likely to push back against unfair demands. Not because they're entitled, because they're not desperate. Even parenting changes. James, a single dad, used to lie awake, terrified his daughter might need braces. After building his emergency fund, he caught himself encouraging her to try out for travel soccer. The thought of extra fees used to instantly kill any extras, he says. Now, I can actually think about what's best for her, instead of what's cheapest. Small businesses thrive differently too. Lisa's bakery almost folded when her oven died mid-holiday season last year. This year, with $10,000 saved, she leased a commercial-grade upgrade that doubled her production capacity. Before, emergencies meant patching things together, she explains. Now there are opportunities to improve. Healthcare decisions improve dramatically. People with emergency funds are 40% more likely to get preventative care, according to Johns Hopkins research. One teacher finally got the sleep apnea test she'd put off for years. Turns out her laziness was actually oxygen deprivation. Her $250 sleep study probably added a decade to her life. Relationships transform too. Couples argue 23% less about finances once they hit $10,000 in savings, according to a Cornell study. One husband described the change perfectly. We went from fighting about McDonald's receipts to planning European vacations together. The most unexpected benefit? Everyday decisions feel lighter. Parking tickets stop ruining your week. You can actually consider that $15-a-month gym. Reward 3. The investment tipping point. Here's where investing stops being theoretical and starts working for real. Below $10K, returns feel insignificant. $100 at 7% earns you $7 a year, which barely covers a coffee. But as your portfolio grows, those small gains start to compound. At $10K, that same 7% return means $700 annually, enough to cover car insurance or a month's groceries. This is where the math starts to feel real, and the psychological shift kicks in. Most people give up on investing before reaching this tipping point. Seeing a $50 gain on a $1,000 portfolio feels underwhelming, leading many to think, why bother? But hitting $10K changes the perspective entirely. Take Miguel, for example. He dabbled with investing apps for years without much commitment. When his savings finally hit 5 figures, he parked $10K in an index fund. Watching it generate $583 in 6 months, while he did nothing, flipped a switch. Suddenly retirement didn't feel like a fairy tale, he said. That realization motivated him to double his monthly contributions. This is also when people transition from dabbler to investor. Behavioral economists have identified this as the moment when the stakes feel real. You stop chasing meme stocks and start thinking about asset allocation. A Fidelity study found that $10K savers are twice as likely to rebalance their portfolios annually compared to those with smaller balances. It's not about being smarter. It's about recognizing the value of steady growth. One investor described deleting his trading app after hitting this milestone. I stopped caring about daily swings once I saw what consistent growth looked like. The first meaningful return does something funny to your brain. You realize passive income isn't a myth, it's just math working quietly in the background. That's when people start asking better questions, like Ashley, who used her first $700 investment gain to cover a dental crown. It hit me, my money just paid a bill without me working extra hours. That clarity changes how you view every dollar afterward. Suddenly, cutting back on takeout isn't deprivation. It's funding future expenses your investments will cover. Small business owners feel this shift too. Before $10, investing might mean buying tools, hoping they'll generate income. After, you can afford actual assets. A baker used her savings to buy a $9 commercial mixer outright instead of leasing. The $300 a month she saved on payments went straight into a SEP IRA. 2 years later, the mixer had paid for itself, and her retirement fund had grown by another $8. That's the snowball effect. One smart decision fuels the next. Even risk tolerance evolves at this level. With minimal savings, people swing between reckless bets and paralyzing fear. But 10K brings balance. A University of Chicago study found savers at this milestone are 40% more likely to choose diversified index funds over speculative plays. It's not about being boring. It's about having enough skin in the game to care about protecting it. The psychological shift matters more than the dollar amount. Neurological studies show $10 investors display less emotional activity when making financial decisions. Translation: you stop sweating market dips because your survival isn't tied to quarterly statements. One teacher held through a 15% market drop without blinking, something she couldn't have done with her original $3K invested. The most surprising change? How it affects spending. People assume more money means more shopping, but $10 investors often spend less. Not from deprivation, from reframing. Every $100 spent isn't just $100 gone. It's $7 a year in future returns you'll never see. One guy returned a $400 jacket after calculating it represented $28 a year forever. Suddenly, sales looked different when I thought about what that money could earn, he said. Reward 4. The negotiation advantage. That $10,000 savings account isn't just sitting there earning interest, it's silently upgrading every financial conversation you have. Suddenly, take it or leave it offers become let's find something better. Raj learned this the hard way when a tech startup offered him $65 for a role clearly worth $85K. Old Raj would have sucked it up to pay rent. New Raj, the one with $10K breathing room, politely declined. 2 weeks later, they called back with an $84,500 offer plus stock options. That's the hidden power of a savings cushion. It turns desperation into leverage. Financial security transforms how you approach negotiations across the board. Whether it's salary discussions, car buying, or rent negotiations, having savings gives you the confidence to walk away, and that changes everything. A Harvard study found that participants with less than $1 in savings used hesitant language like maybe and if possible 4 times more often than those with $10K plus. Their body language also shifted. More fidgeting, less eye contact. But the $10K savers weren't inherently better negotiators. They just knew walking away wouldn't wreck their lives. One woman laughed, recalling how differently she approached her last apartment hunt. With $500 savings, I begged landlords to approve me. With $10K, I asked which units had the best sunlight and got a free gym membership thrown in. This advantage is especially clear in car buying. Dealerships can sense financial fragility. When the salesman asks, "What monthly payment are you looking for?" and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you've already lost. But with $10 saved, you flip the script to what's your best out-the-door price because you know you can walk away. Auto industry data shows buyers with proven savings get 18% better deals on average. One man even got snow tires thrown in just by mentioning he'd be paying cash from his high-yield savings account. Rent negotiations follow a similar pattern. Landlords often prey on tenants who can't afford moving costs. First and last month's rent plus security deposits can total $5K plus. But with $10 saved, you gain mobility. A couple in Austin used this to their advantage when their landlord tried raising rent 20%. They politely mentioned they'd consider other options if the increase wasn't reduced. Within hours, the hike dropped to 5%. It's not about superpowers, it's about the confidence that comes from knowing you have options. The workplace dynamic shifts dramatically too. Most employees tolerate abusive bosses or unpaid overtime because missing one paycheck would be catastrophic, not $10 savers. A Florida bartender shocked her manager by casually mentioning she wouldn't close alone anymore after a parking lot incident. "Before savings, I'd have just prayed nothing bad happened," she said. The next schedule had 2 closers. Research confirms workers with emergency funds report 43% fewer instances of workplace exploitation. Even personal relationships change. Maria finally set boundaries with her freeloading cousin after building savings. "When she demanded my extra parking spot for free, I just said no for the first time in 10 years. The cousin mysteriously found $50 a month for parking elsewhere. Financial security helps you identify which relationships are reciprocal versus transactional. The psychological shift is subtle but profound. Before $10, negotiations feel like high-stakes poker where folding means disaster. After, they're collaborative problem-solving sessions. A freelancer described his transformation. "Instead of panicking when clients nitpick invoices, I now ask, help me understand what fair value looks like for you." Surprisingly, they often pay more. Financial security reframes transactions as mutual value exchanges, rather than survival necessities. Reward 5, the mindset revolution. That moment when money stops feeling like a leaking faucet you can never quite catch. That's the 10K mindset shift. Maria used to track every latte like it was a felony charge. Then she hit 5 figures in savings and something flipped. "I stopped freaking out about $4 coffees," she says, "because I was too busy negotiating a $15 raise at work." This isn't about getting rich. It's about your brain upgrading from scarcity mode to something better. Neurological scans explain this shift. Below 10K, your amygdala, the brain's panic button, lights up at every financial decision. Cross that threshold and those fear patterns quiet down. Researchers found this change happens suddenly. One day you're sweating overdraft fees, the next you're calmly comparing index funds. Your biology literally changes when money transforms from threat to tool. This shift leads to smarter choices. Before, you'd skip dental cleanings to save $200 only to need a $2,000 root canal later. After, you book the cleaning and negotiate the dentist's cash discount. Psychologists call this instrumental thinking, using money strategically rather than reacting emotionally. One guy realized he'd wasted hours coupon cutting to save $15 a week while ignoring the $300 a month he was losing on car loan interest. When your brain isn't constantly firefighting, you spot bigger opportunities. The workplace transformation is stark. Without savings, you tolerate toxic bosses, praying they don't fire you. With 10K, you start job hunting on lunch breaks. A bartender put it perfectly. "I used to panic when my manager threatened to cut my shifts. Now I just think, okay, I've got 6 months to find something better." That shift from survival to strategy changes everything. Relationships with money get healthier too. Broke people either obsessively track every penny or avoid looking at banks entirely. 10K balances that. You check accounts weekly without dread. One woman laughed about her first post-10K budget meeting with herself. "For once, I wasn't crying or drinking wine while logging into Mint." Investing behavior shifts radically. Pre-10, people chase lottery tickets or avoid markets entirely. After, they make boring, smart moves. A study showed $10 savers are twice as likely to automate retirement contributions. Not because they suddenly love finance, because they can finally think beyond next month. One construction worker didn't even realize his 401k existed until hitting this milestone. "When you're not staring at bills all day," he said, "you actually read those HR emails." Shopping habits evolve too. You'd assume more money means more spending, but the opposite often happens. With 10K saved, that $300 jacket isn't just $300, it's $21 a year in lost investment returns forever. One woman returned a designer purse after calculating it equaled 3 years of Netflix. Suddenly, treat yourself felt different when I knew what money could actually do. Health decisions improved dramatically. Ever delay doctor visits to avoid $50 copays only to wind up in the ER? $10K changes that calculus. A teacher finally got the physical she'd put off for years. Turns out her stress headaches were treatable high blood pressure. I spent years blaming myself for being lazy, she said, when really, I was just too broke to afford prevention. Even leisure feels different. People living paycheck to paycheck either binge spend on treats or feel guilty relaxing. 10K creates balance. One programmer described his first post-savings vacation. For once, I wasn't mentally calculating how many hours I'd need to work to pay it off during the flight. The real magic isn't in the bank balance, it's in the mental software update. Money transforms from something that happens to you into something you direct. That 10K mark flips the script from, can I afford this, to, is this worth affording? Reward 6, the spending paradox. Here's the weirdest thing about hitting $10 in savings, it changes how you spend. James thought reaching his savings goal would mean finally splurging on that gaming PC he'd wanted for years. Instead, he spent months researching processors and waiting for a sale. Before 10K, I'd have impulse bought the first shiny option, he admits. Now I treat every dollar like it's working for me. Behavioral economists call this the endowment effect. Once you've worked hard to save money, your brain starts seeing it as more than just cash. That $300 isn't just spending money anymore, it's future earning potential you're reluctant to touch. Conventional wisdom says money burns holes in pockets. But research shows the opposite. People with 10K plus in savings make 23% fewer impulse purchases than those with under 1K. Take Sarah, who used to grab Starbucks daily without thinking. After hitting her savings goal, she realized those $5 lattes added up to $1,825 annually, enough to fully fund an IRA. Suddenly paying $12 for avocado toast felt ridiculous when I pictured that money growing, she says. This shift isn't about deprivation. It's about seeing spending as a trade-off with future opportunities. Small purchases start to feel different. That $50 shirt isn't just $50 anymore. It's $3.50 per year in lost investment returns forever. One guy returned a $400 jacket after realizing it equaled 3 years of Netflix subscriptions. When dollars represent future income streams instead of just stuff, he explained, your spending filter gets way more selective. Groceries tell a similar story. People assume savings lead to premium organic shopping. But USDA data shows households with 10K plus emergency funds spend 18% less on food than those living paycheck to paycheck. Not by eating ramen, by planning better. One family cut their $1,200 monthly grocery bill to $850 by avoiding last-minute convenience store runs. With savings, we could afford to drive to the cheaper supermarket, the mom noted. Being broke is expensive. Big-ticket items get more scrutiny too. Before 10K, people finance $30,000 cars at 7% interest because the payment fits. After, they question whether it's worth $2,100 annually in interest. A nurse delayed her car upgrade after calculating she'd save $8,000 by driving her current car 3 more years. That $8K earns me $560 per year if invested, she realized. The new car smell isn't worth that. Subscription creep also gets tackled. One guy realized his unused subscriptions, gym, streaming apps totaled $1,548 annually, enough to fully fund a Roth IRA. I kept telling myself I couldn't afford to invest, he said, while literally throwing away investment money. With savings cushioning him, he canceled everything except Netflix and banked the difference. Vacations transform too. Research shows 10K savers are 40% more likely to book trips during off-peak seasons and pay up front. One couple calculated their old charge-it vacation habit cost 27% more after interest. Now we put trip money in a separate account months early, they said. The anticipation's half the fun anyway. The endowment effect explains these changes. Once money feels like valuable capital rather than spendable cash, your brain protects it differently. One investor described it best. I stopped seeing my savings as money I hadn't spent yet, it became seed money for future growth. This mindset shift creates a virtuous cycle where reduced spending accelerates wealth building, reinforcing better habits. Reward 7, the future self connection. Here's something nobody tells you about hitting $10 in savings. It's like sending a letter to your future self, saying, I've got your back. Before this point, retirement or financial freedom are just distant ideas, like vague promises you'll get to eventually. But 10K changes that. Suddenly, the abstract becomes tangible. Nina described the moment she opened her savings app and thought, "Oh, I'm actually going to be okay later." That's when she started researching IRAs instead of scrolling Amazon before bed. Psychological studies confirm this shift happens at around 10K. Researchers scanning the brains of savers found stronger neural connections between present decisions and future outcomes. In simpler terms, their brains started linking today's choices with tomorrow's results. One participant explained it perfectly. With $500 saved, skipping Starbucks felt like suffering for no reason. With $10, skipping feels like gifting future me an extra $3.50. This connection explains why most retirement plans fail before 10K. Without seeing progress, sacrifice feels pointless. A TD Ameritrade study found people with under $5 saved were 80% more likely to cash out retirement accounts early. But cross $10? Suddenly, raiding that 401k feels like stealing from someone you care about, your future self. One investor described his turning point. When my balance hit 5 figures, I started visualizing the 65-year-old version of me. Turns out, I don't want to screw that guy over. This future self connection ripples into everyday decisions. Take coffee habits. Before $10, bringing your own thermos feels like a chore. After, you realize those 5 lattes aren't just costing $125 annually, they're erasing $127,750 from your retirement fund over 30 years, assuming 7% returns. That math hits differently when you can picture your silver-haired self sipping margaritas in Belize. Career decisions shift too. Without savings, you'll tolerate a dead-end job because next month's rent is louder than your potential. With $10, you start investing in skills that pay off later. A barista took coding courses after hitting this milestone. Before, I couldn't risk unpaid training time. Now I see every hour spent learning as buying future freedom. 3 years later, he's making 6 figures remotely from Portugal. Health choices also improve. A nurse finally got her sleep apnea treated after calculating that untreated, it could shave 12 years off her retirement. 10K me realizes that $1,500 for a CPAP machine is cheaper than losing a decade of golf and grandkids. Data shows people with emergency savings are 62% more consistent with medications. Not because they're more responsible, but because they value staying alive longer. Parenting shifts as well. That college fund you keep meaning to start? At 10K, it stops being a guilt-inducing should and becomes an automatic transfer. One dad set up a $100 month 529 plan after realizing, my kid will graduate in 2038 whether I prepare or not. Even small business owners feel the change. A baker finally upgraded her equipment after mapping out how the 8K oven would pay for itself in 2 years. 10K let me play chess instead of whack-a-mole. This future self-connection transforms your relationship with money. One woman laughed describing her first post-savings money date. For once, I wasn't crying into my wine while checking Mint. I was actually excited to move money to investments. Every dollar saved becomes a message to your future self. I'm looking out for you. One retiree put it best, when I hit 10K at 35, I finally met the 65-year-old I'd become. Turns out he's pretty cool and worth saving for. The roadmap. How to reach $10 from any starting point. Let's cut through the noise and get real about hitting 10K, no matter where you're starting. Derek proved it's possible even from negative territory. He dug out of $3K credit card debt and saved 10K in 14 months using one simple trick, the 3-account method. 1 account for bills, 1 for emergencies, and 1 for savings. The key? He never saw his savings money when paying bills. It was already gone to future Derek. Behavioral scientists love this because it sidesteps willpower entirely. Your brain can't miss what it never had. Strategy 1. Small daily shifts. Small leaks sink big ships, but small deposits build empires. That $5 sandwich you buy without thinking? Pack lunch 4 days a week and congratulations, you've just created a $520 annual savings habit. One barista automated her $5 daily soda money into a high-yield savings account. After a year, $1,825 earning 4% interest while she sipped free tap water. The Federal Reserve found nearly 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency, but most waste triple that annually on forgotten subscriptions and convenience fees. These small shifts add up fast. Strategy 2. Side hustles with purpose. Side hustles accelerate everything when you focus them like a laser. Most people scatter extra income across wants: a nicer phone, takeout, that shirt they'll wear once. The winners? They treat side cash like sacred money. Uber for 3 months to hit $3 savings? Done. Selling old textbooks to fund your emergency account? Brutal, but effective. A teacher paid down debt by tutoring online 3 nights a week, but here's the key. She direct deposited every check into a savings account she couldn't touch. 6 months later, $5,800 appeared like magic. Strategy 3. The expense autopsy. Conduct an expense autopsy. It's gross but necessary. Print 3 months of bank statements and highlight every WTF was I thinking purchase. One guy found $1,200 a year vanishing on parking tickets. Buying a $100 monthly pass saved $500. Another woman realized her cheap $12 lunches added up to $3,000 annually. Meal prepping freed $250 a month. The trick isn't cutting joy, it's finding money you're already spending without noticing. High-yield savings accounts work best for this. Park your found money where it earns 4% instead of 0. Strategy 4. The $100 challenge. The $100 challenge jumpstarts momentum. Transfer leftover money, down to $100, every payday to savings before spending anything. Sounds scary, but it forces creativity. You'll skip unnecessary purchases because your account looks low, but secretly you're richer. One couple burned through their monthly budget by the 25th, then realized they'd accidentally saved $1,700 in 3 months because they kept seeing a low balance and spending less. Psychological warfare against yourself works. Strategy 5. Windfalls as cheat codes. Windfalls are cheat codes most people waste. Tax refunds, bonuses, birthday cash, these aren't spending money, they're savings grenades. A nurse threw every work bonus at her emergency fund for a year. Result? $6,800 saved without feeling it. The key? Move windfalls immediately to savings before your brain registers them as available. Out of sight, out of mind, until you need new tires and realize you've got the cash. Strategy 6. Automate everything. Automation is the secret weapon. Set up recurring transfers for payday. Even $50 adds up to $600 per year. One retail worker saved $3,000 in 12 months by automating just $50 weekly from his paycheck to a separate account he nicknamed, "Don't You Dare Touch This." By year's end, he didn't even miss the money and had his first emergency fund. Final thoughts. Build momentum and stay vigilant. The snowball versus avalanche debate misses the point. Whether you pay smallest debts first or highest interest, the real win is creating any savings cushion. Once Derek had $1,000 saved, he stopped adding to credit card debt, which cut his payoff time in half. Visual tracking keeps motivation alive. Old-school thermometer charts or apps like Capital make progress tangible. Beware lifestyle creep. It's silent sabotage. Get a raise? Beyond $10,000. What to do when you get there? Reaching $10,000 is a massive achievement, but here's where most people screw up. That sudden rush of financial confidence can backfire fast. Take Sarah, who celebrated her milestone by blowing $3,000 on a designer bag. 2 weeks later, she was stressing over rent, right back where she started. This happens more than you'd think. That first $10,000 creates a dangerous illusion. I'm good with money now, so I can loosen up. Wrong. This is exactly when you need to double down. Here's a simple checklist to avoid common pitfalls and build on your success. 1. Pause before big decisions. Freeze all major purchases for 30 days. No reward splurges or lifestyle upgrades. Let your balance sit while you adjust. People often make their worst financial choices right after hitting a goal. One guy almost bought a jet ski after saving $10,000, but waiting helped him realize he didn't even like water sports. That $12,000 stayed invested instead. 2. Set up the 3-bucket system. Foundation bucket. Keep $5,000 liquid in a high-yield savings account, earning 4 to 5%. This is for true emergencies, not concert tickets or impulse buys. Growth bucket. Invest $3,000 in something simple, like an S&P 500 index fund. No need to overcomplicate it. Let this money start working for you. Flex bucket. Use the remaining $2,000 for strategic quality of life upgrades. The key is to spend intentionally, not impulsively. 3. Upgrade gradually. Avoid lifestyle creep by spreading out purchases. For example, if you need better work clothes, start small. Month 1, replace worn-out dress shoes, $150. Month 3, add 2 quality shirts, $200. Month 6, invest in a great blazer, $300. This approach keeps spending manageable while letting you enjoy progress. One teacher used this method to upgrade her 15-year-old mattress over 6 months without touching her core savings. Nup 4. Automate your savings. Set up recurring transfers so money flows to investments before you can second-guess it. A barista automated $500 monthly to his Roth IRA and maxed out contributions in 2 years without even noticing. Schedule transfers for payday morning, out of sight, out of mind. 5. Avoid the I deserve this trap. Mark hit $10,000, then leased a luxury car with a $650 monthly payment. That wiped out years of progress. Instead, calculate the true cost. That $650 invested over 30 years could have grown to $650,000. Ask yourself, is this purchase worth the future wealth I'm giving up? 6. Protect your progress. Insurance becomes critical now. One hospital visit could wipe out your $10,000 overnight. Make sure you have health insurance, term life insurance if anyone depends on your income, disability coverage to protect your paycheck, renter's homeowner's insurance with proper liability limits. A freelancer avoided financial ruin when her $300 per year liability policy covered a $50,000 lawsuit from a client's injury claim. 7. Upgrade your credit habits. With $10,000 saved, stop carrying credit card balances. One couple used their savings to pay off debt, then only charged what they could pay monthly. Their credit scores jumped 80 points in 6 months, saving them $20,000 in mortgage interest later. 8. Focus on skill growth. Instead of grinding for extra cash, invest in skills that boost your main income. A warehouse worker spent 6 months learning Excel macros with his savings cushion. That $50 course landed him a 15-calorie raise, a 30,000% ROI. 9. Optimize for taxes. That HISA interest? Taxable. Investment gains? Taxable. A nurse saved $1,200 annually by shifting savings to a municipal bond fund in her tax bracket. Maxing out HSA contributions or switching to index funds in taxable accounts can save thousands over time. The $10,000 mark is when you start thinking in decades, not months. One 25-year-old calculated that adding just $100 per month to her investments now could mean $300,000 extra at retirement. That perspective makes skipping trivial purchases effortless. Suddenly, that $5 latte isn't just $5, it's $35 in future growth you're drinking. Case Study 1. From Overdrafts to Options. 3 years ago, Alex was drowning. Not in water, but in $35 overdraft fees that hit like clockwork every Thursday before payday. His phone buzzed constantly with collection calls. The low point? An overdue library book fine triggered a chain reaction that left him choosing between eating lunch or keeping his phone on. Federal Reserve data shows 40% of Americans are one $400 emergency away from disaster. Alex lived that statistic daily. The wake-up call came via a $1,200 medical bill for an untreated sinus infection that turned into bronchitis. The hospital offered a payment plan, but Alex did something radical. He said no. Not because he couldn't pay, but because he finally understood the cycle. That bill showed me I wasn't just poor, he recalls. I was stuck in a system designed to keep me paying fees forever. That moment flipped a switch. His strategy started brutally simple. $1,000 emergency fund first, no exceptions. He sold his gaming console to an $80. Switched to prepaid phone service, $45 month savings. Took on a Sunday warehouse gig that paid weekly, $160 extra. The first month sucked, but by the second month, when his bike tire blew, he paid for repairs without domino effect consequences. That tiny win fueled bigger changes. By month 6, Alex had hit his $1K target. He kept going using the Snowball Plus method. Every paid-off debt freed up minimum payments that rolled into savings. Every windfall, tax refunds, birthday money, went straight to savings. Automated $50 weekly transfers hid money from himself. The real game changer? Treating savings like a bill instead of an afterthought. I used to save what was left, Alex explains. Now I pay future Alex first, then figure out the rest. 18 months later, his account balance crossed 5 figures. But the $10,000 itself mattered less than what it allowed. With savings cushioning him, Alex started saying no to financial traps that used to be unavoidable. When his bank offered a $500 overdraft protection line of credit at 29% APR, he declined. When his landlord tried raising rent $200 per month, he negotiated it down to $75 by showing his on-time payment history. Savings didn't just protect his money, it protected his choices. The psychological shift was profound. Before $10,000, job hunting meant desperately accepting whatever offered a paycheck. After, multiple offers appeared when recruiters sensed genuine willingness to walk away. Alex transitioned from retail to IT support, a field he'd wanted to enter for years but couldn't risk unpaid training for. That savings account bought me the time to learn new skills, he says. Small luxuries became possible without guilt once they stopped threatening survival. A $100 course on certifying his tech skills. A decent work wardrobe bought secondhand. Even simple pleasures like taking his niece to the movies no longer came with financial hangovers. Research shows financial stress diminishes enjoyment, but with $10,000 saved, discretionary spending loses its emotional tax. Looking back, Alex identifies 3 pivotal moments. 1. The medical bill that shattered his denial. I saw the cycle clearly. 2. The first emergency covered without panic proved change was possible. 3. Passing 8 calories when compounding became visible, realized I was building momentum. Most surprising how small wins added up. Using cashback apps netted $312 annually. Switching to a credit union saved $168 in fees. Meal prepping freed $240 per month. None required dramatic sacrifices, just consistent systems. For years I thought I needed to make more money, Alex reflects. Turns out I needed to stop leaking what I already had. The payoff wasn't just financial. Health improved as stress-induced insomnia faded. Relationships deepened when money anxiety stopped dominating conversations. Even his posture changed. No longer hunched over his phone, checking balances constantly. Financial experts call this transformation secure base mentality. When survival fears recede, your brain can focus on growth. For Alex, that meant finally seeing himself as someone who could choose rather than just react. His current project? Building a $25 career change fund to transition into cybersecurity. Case study 2, the side hustle accelerator. Jasmine was grinding hard, bartending mornings and doing freelance graphic design at night, but her bank account refused to grow. She wasn't lazy, she wasn't irresponsible. Yet every month ended the same way, staring at her balance, wondering where the money went. Sound familiar? Here's the brutal truth. Earning more doesn't fix broken money habits. Jasmine proved this when she tracked every dollar for a month and discovered $1,200 vanishing into what she called financial blind spots. The $8 smoothie after yoga, the $25 quick stops at Target, the $12 monthly subscriptions she forgot about. All those just this once purchases added up to a car payment. The wake-up call came when her laptop died. No emergency fund meant taking a predatory payday loan that trapped her for months. Frustrated and overwhelmed, she decided something had to change. That's when Jasmine implemented what she calls the quarantine method, treating side hustle money like it was untouchable. Every dollar from design gigs went straight to a savings account with no debit card access. If I couldn't touch it, I couldn't spend it, she explains. The first month, she saved $300 despite making the same income. Her system was ruthlessly simple. 1. Side hustle earnings auto-transferred to savings immediately. 2. No exceptions for special occasions. 3. Small wins celebrated with free rewards. Park picnics instead of brunch. The results were transformative. In 9 months, she saved $10,200. But the real shift wasn't just in her bank account, it was in her mindset. With breathing room in her finances, Jasmine started making decisions she couldn't before. She turned down low-ball design jobs, which surprisingly led to better clients. She invested $200 in a course that landed her a corporate gig, paying triple her bartending wage. Tracking her spending revealed her biggest money leak: convenience purchases. The $15 lunch because she didn't meal prep. The $35 Uber because she woke up late. Interestingly, Once she hit 5K saved, these emergency expenses disappeared. Turns out I'm way more organized when I'm not constantly stressed, she laughs. Research backs this up. Financial stress reduces cognitive bandwidth equivalent to an all-nighter. The $10,000 milestone gave Jasmine something priceless: choice. When her toxic boss screamed at staff, she calmly mentioned HR policies. When a recruiter lowballed her, she countered with confidence. Knowing she could survive 3 months unemployed changed every negotiation. Here's the unexpected twist. Saving accelerated her earnings. With stability, she could finally focus on skills rather than survival. That $10,000 cushion allowed her to take unpaid trial projects with premium clients, attend networking events instead of extra shifts, build a portfolio website during slow periods. The numbers tell the story. Year 1 pre-savings, $42K earned, $0 saved. Year 2 saving phase, $48 earned, $10,000 saved. Year 3 post $10,000, $72K earned, $26 saved. Notice how earning exploded after saving? That's the hidden multiplier effect. Financial security doesn't just protect you, it propels you. Jasmine's design side hustle became her full-time career because she could afford to be selective. The turning point came at $8K saved. Jasmine landed a client offering $5K for a project requiring new software skills. Previously, she'd have panicked about the learning curve. Now she saw opportunity. She used $150 from savings for an online course, completed the project brilliantly, and unlocked a new income tier. That single job paid nearly what she used to make in 3 months bartending. Case Study 3. The Slow and Steady Winner. Mark's story proves you don't need a 6-figure salary to build real savings. Supporting a family of 4 on $30K a year meant traditional money advice like skip the latte didn't cut it. His financial planning was deciding which utility bill could be late without getting services cut. But 3 years later, he crossed the $10,000 mark, not through dramatic sacrifices, but through small, consistent strategies that added up. The turning point came when Mark realized his grocery budget was bleeding money. Every week, he'd budget $150 but actually spend $108. Instead of beating himself up, he created the Save the Difference game. If he spent $167, he'd transfer $13 to savings immediately. This small shift saved $100 in the first year without feeling restrictive. Celebrating the wins became part of the process. His kids would high-five him when he came home with receipts under budget. Mark's approach focused on systems, not willpower. He switched to cash envelopes for groceries, using leftover change to start a family fun fund. His kids learned to spot deals, turning it into a game. They'd get excited finding cereal on sale, Mark recalls. Windfalls became sacred. Tax refunds and bonuses went straight to savings. Birthday money from relatives? Half went to savings, half to the kids. These small deposits added up to $2,300 annually, nearly a quarter of his $10,000 goal. The slow grind had unexpected benefits. Because Mark wasn't making dramatic cuts, his family barely noticed the changes. Meatless Mondays became routine. Library visits replaced bookstore splurges. His wife started packing lunches using leftovers, saving $75 a week. These weren't deprivations, just smarter versions of habits they already had. Mark's timeline looked like this. Year 1, saved $2,400, $200-month average. Year 2, saved $3,600, $300 a month as habits solidified. Year 3, saved $4,000, $333 in a month as momentum built. The real magic happened after year 1. Mark's $2,400 emergency fund prevented 4 financial disasters that would have previously triggered payday loans. A $600 car repair, $400 dental bill, $300 appliance replacement, and $1,100 rent shortfall when hours got cut. Each crisis handled without debt added to his savings momentum. Side hustles played a role, but Mark kept them manageable. Instead of driving for ride shares after work, he monetized existing activities. He joined a paid research panel during lunch breaks, $50 a month, sold unused tools on Facebook Marketplace, $300 total, and returned cans and bottles for deposit money, $20 a month. These tiny streams added $1,000 annually without requiring extra time. The kids became accidental allies. Mark's daughter started a Save the Coins jar for family vacations. His son negotiated better phone plans when he turned 16. They saw money differently because we talked about goals, Mark says. One proud moment? When his teenager chose a used phone over a new one to keep more in savings. Banking tricks helped too. Mark switched to a credit union that offered keep the change rounding on debit purchases. Every $3.50 coffee triggered a 50-cent transfer to savings. He also set up multiple accounts nicknamed Do Not Touch and Rainy Day to psychologically protect the money. The 3-year journey transformed more than Mark's bank balance. Early on, saving felt impossible. At 3K, it became challenging but possible. By 7K, hitting $10,000 felt inevitable. Mark describes the shift. Somewhere on 5K, I stopped seeing myself as someone who couldn't save. That change in mindset from struggling to thriving became the real victory. Your hero's journey starts today. Here's the truth staring you in the face. $10,000 isn't some distant mountain peak. It's right there, waiting for you to take the first step. Every hero's journey starts with someone bold enough to believe they can actually do this. Your version. Skip one takeout meal this week and bank that $15. That's your first foothold on the climb. Right now, your biggest enemy isn't your bank account. It's that voice whispering, "Why bother?" after years of false starts. Shut it down. Grab your phone and transfer $5 to savings right now. Seriously, pause this video and do it. That tiny win proves something critical. You're capable of making different choices today than you did yesterday. Your first quest is simple. Save $100. Not $10,000, not even 1K, just $100. Here's how. Pay future you first. Skim $20 off your next paycheck and stash it in a separate account. Pass on small temptations. Skip the $35 wireless earbuds or cut your $5 daily coffee to twice a week. Those little decisions add up. $5 saved daily becomes $1,825 annually. You'll backslide. Maybe you'll blow $200 on a concert after swearing off splurges. That's not failure, it's data. Figure out what triggered it, boredom, stress, and build guardrails. One viewer sets his phone background to a screenshot of his overdraft fees to curb spending. Brutal? Yes. Effective? His $10,000 says so. The timeline doesn't matter as much as the trajectory. Whether you save $100 a month or $500, what counts is that the graph points up. Take Derek. He crawled from $0 to $10,000 in 22 months of side gigs. Priya automated $50 weekly transfers and hit her goal in 4 years. Both won. Both transform their financial habits. Automate what you can. Schedule transfers for payday mornings when your willpower's fresh. Rename your savings account something dramatic like Do Not Touch or You Die. Track progress visually. Tape a $10,000 thermometer to your fridge and color in sections for every $500 saved. Turn it into a game. One couple transferred every skip purchase amount to savings. $8 lattes became $64 monthly without feeling deprived. Expect unexpected benefits. That bartender who saved her first $10,000? 3 months later, she negotiated a 5-hour raise because she could afford to walk away. The dad who built his emergency fund? His credit score jumped 110 points just by avoiding late payments. Side hustles accelerate everything. But quarantine the earnings. Treat gig money like radioactive material. That $300 from dog walking? Straight to savings. One teacher banked every tutoring check for 6 months and woke up to $5,800 she barely remembered earning. Small leaks sink ships. Print 3 months of bank statements and highlight every WTF was this purchase. One guy found $1,200 per year vanishing into parking tickets. A $100 monthly pass saved him $500 annually. Another woman realized her $12 lunches totaled $3K per year. Meal prepping freed up $250 monthly. Windfalls are cheat codes. Tax refunds, bonuses, birthday money. Move them to savings immediately before your brain registers they exist. A nurse threw every bonus at her emergency fund for a year and saved $6,800 without feeling it. Reward small wins strategically. Hit $500? Celebrate with a $5 treat, not a $500 splurge. One family colors in a butterfly drawing for every $100 saved. Fully colored means $10,000 achieved. Protect momentum fiercely. Lifestyle creep sabotages more savers than emergencies. Get a raise? Increase 401k contributions before upgrading your lifestyle. That 24-year-old engineer maxed out his retirement accounts by living like a student despite six-figure earnings. Now he invests more annually than most save in a decade. Remember Jasmine? She proved earning more fixes nothing unless you change habits first. Tracking exposed $1,200 a month, vanishing into blind spots, subscriptions, impulse buys, quick target funds. How your $10,000 changes more than just your life in 9 months without earning a penny more. Here's the crazy thing about reaching $10,000 in savings. It's like dropping a stone into a pond. The impact doesn't stop with you. It ripples outward in ways you might not expect. Think about your last money argument with a partner, or the time you had to say no to helping a friend in need. Financial stress doesn't stay contained, it seeps into every relationship you have. Take Maria's story. When her sister faced a $4,000 medical bill, Maria used to say, "I wish I could help." After hitting her savings goal, she fronted the money interest-free. That single act didn't just solve a crisis. It kept her sister from taking out a payday loan that could have spiraled into years of debt. Maria's $10,000 didn't just protect her, it created stability for her family. Research backs this up. People with emergency savings are significantly more likely to help friends or family during tough times. And that generosity has a ripple effect. Those helped are more likely to achieve their own financial stability within 2 years. Your $10,000 doesn't just sit there. It creates waves of financial health that spread further than you'd think. Kids pick up on these ripples too. A Cambridge University study found children's money habits solidify by age 7. Every time you check your balance with your kid watching or explain why you're choosing generic brands, you're shaping their financial future. James saw this firsthand when his 10-year-old started a save half rule for birthday money after watching him do it. That $10,000 isn't just security now, it's a legacy of better habits. Workplaces feel the shift as well. Employees with savings are less likely to tolerate toxic behavior from bosses. One nurse, after hitting her emergency fund goal, began pushing back against unsafe staffing ratios. Within months, her entire floor saw improved working conditions. Financial security gives you the backbone to demand better, and that lifts everyone around you. Small businesses amplify these ripples. When Jasmine saved enough to quit bartending and focus on her design business, she hired 2 freelancers for overflow work. That $10,000 didn't just change her life, it created $28,000 in local economic activity within a year. Your financial growth isn't solitary, it's fertilizer for everyone in your orbit. Even mental health improves. Researchers found that when one person in a friend group achieves financial stability, their social circle experiences reduced financial anxiety. Just seeing proof that saving is possible can inspire others to believe they can do it too. Your spreadsheet might be someone else's hope. Parents often notice surprising changes. That constant no to kids' activities often stems from fear, not frugality. One teacher described finally saying yes to her daughter's science camp. She came home buzzing about becoming a marine biologist. That $200 might have just altered her entire future. Friendships deepen too. Financial stress often makes people obsess over splitting checks or avoid socializing entirely. With savings, you can focus on the person across the table, not the bill between you. Studies show financially secure people have more close friendships, not because they're richer, but because they're present. These ripples even transform neighborhoods. When Alex stopped cycling through payday loans, he became the go-to guy for financial advice on his block. His simple envelope system helped 3 families start saving. Predatory lenders lose when communities share knowledge. Your $10,000 makes you an accidental educator. That $10,000 isn't just a number, it's a catalyst, creating ripples that touch relationships, workplaces, communities, and beyond. Here's the truth. $10,000 changes everything because it changes you. It's not about the number in your bank account. It's about proving to yourself that transformation is possible, that you're capable of more than you thought. Right now, your future self is watching. They're remembering this moment, the day you decided to start. Will they see someone who made excuses or someone who took action? Every transfer, every no to impulse buys, every small win adds up. So, what's your next move? Transfer that first $5 now. Your future self is waiting. This is your moment to rewrite your